You guys, we have unfinished business. Resident Evil related unfinished business, the most important kind. It's time we discuss the fate of the new fan favorite Resident Evil protagonist, Ethan Winters. Before we go any further, if you haven't finished Resident Evil Village, please know we're heading into massive spoiler territory. Back in 2018, I put out a video about Resident Evil VII, highlighting some oddities to the game's main character, Ethan Winters, with the key points being, why was he able to endure such punishment? Why was he so proficient with weapons and chemical mixing? What was his real motivation for being there? Could he have been working for a third party? Could he have been a former high-ranking Umbrella employee, given that the name Ethan W appears in the Resident Evil V in-game document? And even, why is his face always obscured, as if the game wants you to question his character? So many questions, and this video was made before Resident Evil Village was even announced. So as you can imagine, I was thrilled to learn that the next game would again feature Ethan as the main protagonist. And hopefully we could cross off some of these lingering questions off the list. And now, it's been several months, I've played through the game multiple times, and we have answers, both confirming and disproving some of these points. But then, the game throws us a massive curveball, and we're yet again left with even more questions. First, let's address some of the original points. No, Resident Evil Village didn't contain anything that could prove Ethan was in some way affiliated with Umbrella or any other third party during the events of Resident Evil VII. If anything, the game doubles down on Ethan's original motive, his love for Mia. The fact that he's still with her after all of this, he must. They even had a baby together, and Village continues that same theme. How far would you go to save your loved ones? In 7, it was Mia he was trying to save, and in Village, it's his daughter Rose. Why was Ethan so proficient with weapons and chemical mixing? Well, it's because he's a goddamn Chad. But at least in Village, it is briefly touched upon that after the events of Resident Evil VII, he did receive some military training.
Chris moving us here, military training, it all happened so fast, you know?
But now, the big revelation. Well, yes, a lot of these points, the one listed in my original video, are speculation. A game theory, if you will. But not baseless. The fact remained that there was still something off about Ethan in RE7. No normal person, even one in the Resident Evil universe, can simply reattach a severed limb without something else going on. And look, even in the trailers, Capcom teased the fact that there was something special about Ethan. They were laying it on pretty thick.
Let's see how special you are. Ethan Winters.
Ethan Winters. Mr. Winters. Ethan Winters.
Ethan. Poor Ethan.
Ethan Winters.
Near the end of Resident Evil Village, the game's main antagonist, Mother Miranda, rips out Ethan's heart. God damn, gives him the Kano special. And here, we learn just how special Ethan really is. After a brief intermission with Chris Redfield, Ethan has a vision of Resident Evil VII's main villain, Evelyn, who reveals the truth to him.
Now do you get it? Your whole body is nothing but mold.
Ethan was killed right at the beginning of Resident Evil VII, in the very first encounter with Jack Baker. He's technically been dead this whole time, but in the process, was infected with mold, the valuable fungal superorganism which brought him back to life. And with it, gave him crazy regenerative powers, which explains why he was able to reattach limbs and endure punishment that would cripple a normal person, even going so far as surviving after his heart was ripped from his chest, then coming back and killing Mother Miranda. I gotta say, Ethan's become one of my favorite Resident Evil protagonists. Dude's a badass. And the game ends with an explosion, of course. With Ethan's regenerative powers pushed to the brink, in a weakened state and starting to calcify like the other defeated mold in RE7, he sacrifices himself and leaves his daughter in the care of Chris Redfield.
Teach her to be strong.
Super sad, and the game's post-credit scene jumps forward in time to show Ethan's daughter Rose as a teenager visiting her father's grave, and closes out with the phrase, "The father's story is now done." So that's it. After Resident Evil 7, there was something off about him. I made a video about it with some signs pointing to something malicious, when really, all along, he's been the most wholesome dude, just wanting to protect his family, and, you know, kind of made out of mold. All of our questions are now answered, and sadly, his story is over. Or is it? It seems like an open and shut case, right? He blew himself up. But during the post-credits scene, the very final shot, as they're leaving the cemetery driving off into the horizon, the car seems to stop and pulls up next to a person standing. What's strange is, at first this person isn't even there. Only once the car passes the camera does he appear, and once the car stops, it lingers on this shot for a fairly long time. So, what the heck is this? What are we even looking at? Lucky for us, this cutscene is entirely in-engine, so modders were able to move the camera to get a closer look. And lo and behold, it's freaking Ethan Winters. What? But it's Ethan's character model from the last sequence of the game, made evident by his wounds and his calcified hand, which I guess makes sense. They wouldn't make a brand new model for something no one's technically supposed to really see. But obviously the burning question is, what the hell is he doing here? And for this, no one has a definitive answer. Is it just Capcom trolling everyone? Or is Ethan really alive? There are two leading theories. First being, Ethan is alive. Sure, he blew himself up, but to me, that counts for very little. This is Resident Evil after all. It's all about the dead coming back to life. Even if Ethan calcified and crumbled to pieces, he could still come back. Just look at Jack Baker. Ethan seemingly killed him in Resident Evil 7's main campaign, completely calcified, only to return in the DLC to face his brother Joe.
Jack? What the fuck?
Just because the game states the father's story is now done, doesn't mean that he's dead. But then why would Rose be visiting her father's grave? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it could be possible that Blue Umbrella has only led her to believe that Ethan is actually dead, and is keeping the two apart. She is basically an extremely powerful and valuable BOW at this point after all, that is clearly being monitored closely.
I can show you things even Chris doesn't know I can do.
The other theory, not as exciting, is that Ethan's dead, for real, and the character model in the cemetery at the ending is just a placeholder that doesn't serve any major purpose. I actually pretty strongly disagree with this one. It's not just there for no reason. It appears out of thin air and the camera lingers on this shot for an abnormally long time. Also, it's the very last shot of the entire game. Being in-engine, the devs surely knew that people would find this, and it would get the community talking. It all seems very deliberate. But for now, that's all we got. It appears likely that the next game will continue to focus on the Winters family, possibly setting up Rose as the next protagonist, which would be awesome. What do you guys think? Is Ethan alive? Is he dead? Let me know in the comments section below, and if you like this video, please hit the like button. It really does help this channel out a lot. And for stories similar to this one, consider binge watching the series using the Deep Cuts playlist. Thanks again for watching this one, guys. Peace!